Expired. I now recognize Representative Ted Lieu of California for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Meeks, for your leadership on this issue. The first thing I'd like to do is put in an article in the Washington Post for the record. It's titled, "Biden is approving more oil and gas drilling permits on public lands than Trump analysis finds," dated December 6, 2021. So we put that in the record? Excellent. All right. Now, I just wanted to start by reminding everyone that the Foreign Affairs Committee was one of the principal committees investigating the former president for withholding javelins to Ukraine in order to extort the president of Ukraine. Every Republican member on this committee last term refused to hold the former president accountable. I now want to correct misleading statements by my Republican colleagues today about Ukraine. So, Deputy Secretary of State Sherman, we didn't just give $1 billion of military aid to Ukraine. Since 2014, the U.S. has provided approximately $2.7 billion of military aid to Ukraine. Isn't that right?
We estimate it's about $3 billion.
Okay. U.S.-made Stinger missiles were also transferred to Ukraine from Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania with the permission of the United States prior to this conflict. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. The United States also provided javelins and other lethal weapons to Ukraine prior to Russia invading. Isn't that right?
Yes, and I'm looking at Assistant Secretary Mayor just to make sure I get it correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in 2021 of lethal aid. Isn't that correct? Okay. And then in January, the United States followed up again with 90 tons of military aid, including lethal weapons, to Ukraine. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So I just need the administration to push back on the misleading comments by the Republicans a little better instead of just saying we have to have a classified briefing, because you can say things like you just did in open session and just push back and tell the Republicans they are wrong. We have supported Ukraine. We will continue to do so. Now, I'd like to talk about the recent vote of the United Nations General Assembly, where the nations of the world overwhelmingly condemned Russia for the unprovoked attack of a sovereign nation and a democracy. A few countries did not vote for that, including India. India, a country that is a democracy, that wants to be respected on the world stage, did not vote for that resolution. And what did they get in exchange? Russia gave India 6 hours to get Indian residents evacuated out of Ukraine. 6 hours. That's what India got in exchange. That is a slap in the face to India. And if India wants to be taken seriously on the world stage, if they want to be part of the family of democracies, they need to condemn Russia. It's not very hard to do. It's not like we're asking India to even sanction Russia. Just condemn them. So I want to ask you, Deputy Secretary of State Sherman, what kind of pressure can we put on India to do the right thing and be on the right side of history?
Congressman, every country makes its own decision about its national interests. We agree with you, 141 countries today in the UN General Assembly, an enormous vote with only 5 notes, 35 abstentions, of which India was one of the abstentions, but 141 countries voted to say that President Putin has put forward an unprovoked, unjustified, and premeditated war on Ukraine and Ukraine's citizens. Those countries that abstained, we are in constant conversation with to, quite frankly, implore them to do what we believe is the right thing. We understand that countries have very complicated calculus making these decisions. We hope that as votes go on, and there are votes happening in the Human Rights Council, there are votes happening at the IAEA, there were votes at the, or a walkout actually, at the Conference on Disarmament when Minister Lavrov spoke. So we hope as this goes on that every country will understand that this is naked aggression, that this is a president who is acting with impunity to take away the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of a country and its right to make its own choices, and to understand that if Putin can come for Ukraine, then authoritarian leaders everywhere can come for you.
Thank you. I yield back.
Time has expired. I now recognize Representative Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, who's the ranking member for the Subcommittee on Europe, Energy, and Environment.